Zero stands for nothing. If you have 0 candy bars, then you have nothing at all. It may seem strange to have a numeral for something that is not there, but the numeral 0 is really very important. The 0 is a placeholder. It shows us how much the other numerals stand for in a number. That's how we know that 10 means 10 and 100 means 100. In the history of mankind, there has always been nothing, but there hasn't always been 0. Numbers in a system that does not include 0 are called counting numbers. The number line below illustrates the counting numbers. The idea of having a numeral that stands for nothing was probably invented in India. The Arabs who borrowed the idea brought it to Europe. They called 0 zerf, which means empty. People in Europe began to use the symbol 0 about 1,000 years ago. They changed its name to 0. We still use the Arab word zerf, but we spell it cipher. And for us, cipher means 0 or any numeral. 1 is a thing all by itself, but when you put ones together, you get other numbers. You can make every number using ones. You can't do that with any other number. The ancient Greeks were fond of thinking about numbers and playing with numbers. They often thought of numbers as so many dots and spent a lot of time arranging dots in different shapes. They thought of ones as both a triangle and a square. They also felt that 1 was the only real number because all other numbers were made from it. 2 is the first even number. An even number can be broken apart and made into 2 smaller numbers that are exactly the same. Break 2 apart and you get 1 and 1. Long ago, both the Chinese and Greeks thought of even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, as girl numbers. The odd numbers were boy numbers. The ancient Greeks felt that the number 2 was like someone who couldn't make up his mind about something. We still think of 2 this way. When people say they are of 2 minds, quote unquote, about something, they mean they can't decide between 2 choices. If you think of 3 as 3 dots, you can show it as a triangle. A triangle is a shape with 3 sides and 3 angles or corners. That's how the ancient Greeks thought of 3. The Greeks counted 3, not 1, as the first odd number. An odd number is a number that can't be divided into 2 equal parts. Break 3 apart and you get a 1 and a 2. For many people long ago, 3 was a magical number. It stood for the 3 parts of life: beginning, middle, and end. It stood for the 3 kingdoms of the earth: animal, vegetable, and mineral. Magicians and witches usually worked in groups of 3 when casting spells. If you think of 4 as 4 dots, you can show the dots as a square. That's how the ancient Greeks thought of 4, as a shape with 4 sides and 4 corners. 4 is an even number. It can be separated into 2 equal parts. To the ancient Greeks, justice was a problem that had 2 equal sides. So the Greeks used 4, with its 2 equal parts, as a symbol for justice. People long ago believed that the world was flat, and they spoke of the 4 corners of the earth. Also, 4 is the number of the 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. Think of the number 5 as 5 dots that you can arrange in a flat shape that has 5 sides and 5 corners, or angles. A shape of this kind is called a pentagon, a name that means 5 corners. That is the way the ancient Greeks thought of the number 5, as having the shape of a pentagon. To the Greeks, 5 stood for marriage. For them, 5 was the first number made for both an odd or boy number, 3, and an even or girl number, 2. They didn't think of 3 as being made of an odd 1 and even 2, since for them, 1 wasn't an odd number. 5 was also thought to be a magical number because we have 5 senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. Long ago, the Greeks discovered something very odd about 6. It can be divided evenly by 3 numbers that are less than itself. 1, 2, and 3. And these three numbers add up to 6. Because of this, the Greeks described 6 as a perfect number. The Greeks thought of 6 as having two shapes. One shape was a triangle because 6 dots can be arranged in the shape of a triangle. They thought of 6 as a shape with 6 sides and 6 corners. Such a shape is called a hexagon, which means 6 corners. The Greeks thought 6 was the number that stood for the number of parts of the human body: 2 arms, 2 legs, the head, and the trunk, or body. The ancient Greeks thought of 7 as a shape with 7 sides and 7 corners. Such a shape is called a heptagon, which means, yes, you guessed it, 7 corners. 7 seemed like a special magical number, perhaps because they noticed that the moon changes shape every 7 days. So they did such things as making a week 7 days long and celebrating their festivals for 7 days. Many people still think of 7 as a lucky number. There are also the 7 wonders of the ancient world and expressions such as the 7 seas. The Greeks of long ago thought of 8 as a shape with 8 sides and 8 corners. Such a shape is called an octagon, which means 8 corners. They also saw 8 as a shape called a cube, made from 2 square 4s. The number 8 was the Greek symbol for wisdom. For many people of ancient times, it was the number of magic and science. Ancient Hindus believed that the world was made up of 8 parts, and the ancient Chinese divided the year into 8 seasons. The ancient Greeks thought of 9 as a shape with 9 sides and 9 corners. This shape is called a nanagon. Can you guess what a nanagon means? They also thought of 9 as 9 dots arranged in the shape of a square. 9 was a very special number for the people of the ancient world. You see, they discovered something very strange about it. In any number made up of 9s, the numerals add up to 9, or are 9. For example, 2 9s are 18, and the 2 digits, 1 and 8, add up to 9. 11 9s are 99, and each digit is a 9. And 9 plus 9 equals 18, by the way. And so on. Because of this, 9 became a symbol of truth and was said to be a lucky number. Some people also think that 9 belongs to the star group called Sagittarius, the archer. The ancient Greeks gave 10 a shape with 10 sides and 10 corners. Such a shape is called a decagon and means, you guessed it, 10 corners. The Greeks also thought of 10 as a triangle made from the first 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. For many ancient people, 10 represented a sort of new beginning. In ancient Babylon, the people held a 10-day celebration in honor of springtime, which is a new beginning for all growing things. In our system of counting, the number 10 is a stopping place. After 10, we have 11, which means 10 and 1 left over. 12 means 10 and 2 left over. 13 means 3 and 10, and so on. 10 is a stopping place because most people learn to count on their fingers.